That morning, Tae-jin stirred gently, blinking against the warmth, and as his vision cleared, he turned, and there she was. Min Seo lay beside him, her long lashes resting on her cheeks, her breathing slow and even. For a moment, Tae-jin just watched her, a quiet, conflicted smile curling at the corners of his lips. She looked so peaceful, so unlike the fiery, sharp-tongued woman she usually was. And in that silence, for a second, he allowed himself to feel something tender. But the memory of the night before hit him like cold water. His smile faded. His chest tightened with the weight of regret, and shame washed over him. What had they done? It wasn't supposed to happen, not like that. He shifted quietly, trying to slip out of bed, but before he could plant his feet on the ground, a hand gently grasped his wrist. "I'm awake," Min Seo murmured, her voice low and husky from sleep. Tae-jin froze. "Don't go," she added, her fingers tightening around his wrist. "Please." He turned to look at her, conflicted. "Min Seo, we shouldn't have done this. We were drunk. It wasn't right." She sat up, pulling the sheets around herself, her expression soft but serious. "Yes, we were drunk. But don't pretend it was only because of that. You know it wasn't." Tae-jin shook his head, trying to keep his voice steady. "It doesn't matter. You're going to be married to my brother. Even if our hearts wanted something different, that doesn't change the facts. You're his now, and what we did," he swallowed hard, "was a betrayal. A sacrilege." Min Seo's eyes darkened. "Is that all it was to you? A mistake?" "Of course not," he snapped, then lowered his voice, running a hand through his hair. "But I can't pretend this didn't happen. And I can't live with the guilt of it either." She leaned in closer, desperate. "Then let's go. Let's leave the palace. We don't have to stay here, Tae-jin. We can start over somewhere else. I don't care about the crown or the court or my father. But I do." Tae-jin cut in, his voice firmer now. "You think we can just run away? That your father will let it go? He'll hunt us down, Min Seo. And besides, I have responsibilities here. I can't abandon everything. Not like this." Min Seo's eyes filled with tears. She stared at him, trembling. "So that's it, then? You won't even try? After all this time?" Tae-jin remained silent. Her lip quivered. "You don't love me. That's the truth, isn't it?" "I never said that." "You didn't have to," she shouted through her tears. "Because if you really loved me, you wouldn't be looking for reasons to stay away from me." She stood abruptly, wrapping the sheet tightly around herself. "I must have been a fool to forget myself, to believe, even for a second, that you could be brave enough to love me out loud. Min Seo." "Don't," she snapped. "Forget it ever happened." She moved to leave, and Tae-jin instinctively reached for her arm. "Wait, just be careful. If someone sees you coming out of my room." "I don't care," she said without looking back. She gathered her clothes and stormed into the bathroom where she dressed. As soon as she came out, she yanked the door open and stormed out. Outside, her steps slowed. She made it just past the walkway, out of sight of the guards, before her legs buckled beneath her. She leaned against a stone pillar, one hand clutching her chest as if trying to hold in the ache threatening to spill out. And then, she cried, broken, breathless sobs that echoed faintly in the quiet morning. After a long moment, she stood straight, wiped her tears with trembling fingers, and whispered to herself through clenched teeth. "Never again. I will never seek him out again." That morning, the tension inside Sungmin's house was so thick it could be sliced clean with a blade. The wooden windows were shut tight, the early sunlight leaking through in thin slits as General Hong Jae and Dae Hyun sat across from Sungmin, waiting for him to speak. He stood, pacing in front of them, jaw clenched, hands behind his back. Finally, he stopped and faced them with sharp eyes. Kyung-hoon knows, he said bluntly. General Hong-jae immediately straightened. Knows what, exactly? Sungmin's gaze hardened. Everything. That I was the former prince. That I've been building a rebellion. That Ji-yeon is a man whom I disguised as a woman to exact my revenge against his family. This is a problem. What are we going to do now? General Hong-jae whispered, concern etched on his face. A beat of silence passed. Then it's over, Dae-hyun muttered. Maybe it's for the best. Sungmin spun around to face him, eyes burning. For the best? After everything I've done? After all the lives lost to get us this far? His voice rose with each word. You want me to give up just because Kyung-hoon knows? I'm just saying, Dae-hyun began, but Sungmin cut him off. Don't you dare say that when I'm the one who's risked everything. He slammed his hand against the table. And Ji-yeon. Ji-yeon. I raised him to be different, that I did so much to make him into the perfect person, and yet he betrayed me for love. He spat the word like it was poison. General Hong-jae exchanged a look with Dae-hyun but said nothing. I will teach them both a lesson, Sungmin growled. They think they can stand against me? Fine. But I will not back down now. But what do we do? Hong-jae asked again, quietly. Sungmin sighed, his anger cooling just enough to think. We postpone everything. For now. We lay low. Restructure. We move in shadows until the time is right. Dae-hyun shook his head slowly, his voice calm but steady. Hyung-nim, think about it. If Kyung-hoon really saw you as a threat, if he truly intended to stop you, wouldn't you already be behind bars? Wouldn't soldiers be tearing this place down right now? Sungmin's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? I'm saying, Dae-hyun replied, leaning forward, he's giving you a chance. For Ji-yeon's sake. He didn't arrest you because Ji-yeon still loves you. And Kyung-hoon, he doesn't want to hurt the person Ji-yeon loves, even if that person is you. Sungmin stilled. The idea struck a nerve, one he wasn't ready to admit hurt. He looked away, jaw tightening again. He's holding back, Dae-hyun continued, waiting for you to stop. To walk away from this path before it's too late. It's not mercy. It's a warning. Sungmin sank into his chair, eyes dark with thought. He said so himself, that he's giving me a chance, he repeated quietly. Silence filled the room again, only this time, it wasn't anger holding it in place. It was something heavier. But Sungmin's face, though pained, remained resolute. Let him give me all the chances he wants. I didn't come this far to be swayed by mercy. The golden morning light filtered gently into Kyung-hoon's chamber, warming the silk curtains and casting soft patterns on the wooden floor. Ji-yeon sat on the edge of the bed, adjusting his robe, preparing to leave, but Kyung-hoon wasn't making it easy. Just a little longer, Kyung-hoon murmured, slipping his arms around Ji-yeon from behind and nuzzling into the crook of his neck. Ji-yeon giggled, trying to wriggle free. I have to get back to my room, but you, hugging me like this. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I always want to be around you, Kyung-hoon said, planting small kisses on his cheek, then forehead, then lips. Just a few more minutes, please. He pouted adorably and Ji-yeon chuckled again, blushing faintly, just as a knock sounded at the door. Kyung-hoon sighed in frustration, pressing his forehead against Ji-yeon's. Of course. Perfect timing. From behind the door came Lady Han's composed voice. Your Highness, it's Lady Han. I'm coming in. Before either could protest, the door opened and in swept Lady Han, followed by a small group of maids and a woman dressed in an elaborate hanbok, elegant, proud, with sharp eyes. They stood up from the bed and Kyung-hoon instinctively stepped in front of Ji-yeon, whose body went rigid in panic. This, Lady Han said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, is Ms. Lim, the palace's chief seamstress. She's here to take Crown Princess Jialmi's measurements for the royal wedding hanbok. Ji Yun's eyes widened as his heart started to race. He opened his mouth, searching for an excuse, but Kyung-hoon beat him to it, stepping forward smoothly. "That won't be necessary," he said calmly. Ms. Lim blinked. "Pardon, Your Highness. I'll send her measurements shortly," Kyung-hoon said with a polite smile. Jialmi is quite sensitive about her body. A heavy silence fell in the room. Ji Yun froze, his face flushed. "Sensitive?" Ms. Lim repeated, arching a brow. "I've been dressing royal women for over 20 years. I've never once heard of a crown princess being too sensitive to be measured." "She's different," Kyung-hoon insisted, keeping his voice respectful but firm. "It's something we've come to understand about her. I will deliver the measurements to you myself." Ms. Lim looked skeptical, her mouth twitching as if she wanted to challenge him, but Lady Han stepped in with a graceful wave of her hand. "Ms. Lim, let us respect the prince's wishes for now. We can resume when the princess is more comfortable." Though still doubtful, Ms. Lim bowed stiffly and left the room, followed by the disappointed maids. As Lady Han walked, her attention was caught by the hushed voices of the maids behind her, giggling under their breath, whispering behind cupped hands. "Don't you think the crown princess is strange? She never lets us touch her. Won't let us dress her or even brush her hair. And now she won't allow a simple measurement." They burst into soft laughter, one of them nudging the other. "Maybe she's not a she at all. What if the crown princess is a man?" Lady Han's eyes darkened. She spoke, her voice, low and sharp. "That's enough." The maids straightened immediately, their giggles vanishing like smoke. "You forget yourselves," she said coldly. "Your job is to serve, not to speculate. Speak like that again and you'll find yourself scrubbing chamber pots for a month." "Yes, Lady Han," they mumbled, bowing quickly. Lady Han stood still for a moment. Her expression unreadable, her thoughts a swirl of suspicions and realizations. Then she turned, her face calm once more, and walked away in silence. Inside Kyung-hoon's private quarters, Ji Yun paced slowly, biting his lower lip in worry as he adjusted the sash of his robe. "They're going to start suspecting me," he said, his voice low with concern. "Lady Han, the maids, even the seamstress. I saw the way they looked at me." Kyung-hoon, reclining on the floor with one leg stretched out and the other bent casually, glanced up and offered a soft, reassuring smile. "Ji Yun, you're overthinking it." Ji Yun turned to face him, frowning slightly. "Am I? I refuse to let them measure me. That's not exactly normal behavior for a bride-to-be." Kyung-hoon chuckled and sat up straighter, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "They might think you're a little strange, maybe even eccentric. But trust me, no one's going to think it's because you're a man. People rarely look past what they expect to see." "That's easy for you to say," Ji Yun muttered, sitting beside him. "Okay then," Kyung-hoon said, a grin forming on his lips, "I'll take your measurements myself." Ji Yun looked at him, confused. "What?" Kyung-hoon suddenly lunged forward and began tickling Ji Yun's sides. "Let's see, waist, lean and suspiciously ticklish. Shoulders. Surprisingly broad for a princess." Ji Yun burst into giggles, squirming away from his touch. "Stop, stop. Kyung-hoon. You're squirming too much for me to get accurate numbers." Kyung-hoon teased, still tickling. Ji Yun was laughing helplessly, trying to push him away when suddenly. Knock knock. They both froze. A familiar voice followed. "Brother, it's Tae-jin. You said we had something to discuss." Kyung-hoon sighed, pulling away from Ji Yun and fixing his hair. "Duty calls." Ji Yun caught his breath and nodded. "Go on. I'll be here." Kyung-hoon paused, then leaned in to kiss Ji Yun's forehead gently. "I'll be back soon." In a more private meeting room elsewhere in the palace, Kyung-hoon poured tea for himself and Tae-jin as they sat across from one another. The mood was calm, at least at first. "You've been quiet," Kyung-hoon noted, narrowing his eyes. "What's going on?" Tae-jin looked down into his cup. "It's nothing. Just, tired." Kyung-hoon didn't press, but he wasn't convinced. He studied his brother a moment longer before moving on. "I wanted to tell you something important. Ji-yeon's father, Sungmin, he's not who we thought." Tae-jin looked up, brows furrowing. "He is the prince of the former royal family. The same line that was wiped out during the purge." Tae-jin sat up straighter, his face now fully alert. "What? He's planning a rebellion," Kyung-hoon added, keeping his voice level. "And you're telling me this so casually?" Tae-jin snapped. "That's treason, Hyung. We need to inform the king immediately. He should be arrested." "No," Kyung-hoon said calmly. "Not yet." "Not yet?" Tae-jin echoed incredulously. "Why in the world would we wait?" Kyung-hoon exhaled slowly. "Because I understand his anger. His entire family was burned alive, Tae-jin. I won't justify what he's done, especially not what he put Ji-yeon through. But I see why he wants revenge. I would too. That doesn't mean we should let him go free." Tae-jin's voice rose. "What if he attacks? What if he moves before we're ready?" Kyung-hoon remained firm. "He won't, for now. He knows I know the truth. That's why he's lying low. He hasn't been arrested because I made that choice." Tae-jin stared at him, speechless for a moment. Then, more quietly, "So you're sparing him because of Ji-yeon?" "Yes," Kyung-hoon said simply. "Ji-yeon's torn. That man's still his father, despite everything. If there's even a chance Sungmin can change, I owe it to Ji-yeon to try." Tae-jin leaned back, rubbing his temples. "You're too soft sometimes, Hyung." "Maybe," Kyung-hoon said. "But I'm also calculating. If he slips up, I won't hesitate." Tae-jin shook his head slowly. "I hope you won't regret this. Because if it comes back to bite us, it won't just be your burden, it'll be the whole kingdom's." Kyung-hoon's jaw tightened, but he didn't reply. In Min Seo's private chambers, the warm sunlight filtered through gauzy curtains as a group of maids bustled around her. Seated on a cushion, Min Seo held out her arm gracefully as Miss Lim, the royal seamstress, wrapped a measuring tape around her shoulder, chattering away with animated delight. "Oh, Lady Min Seo," Miss Lim gushed, holding up a shimmering piece of silk. "Look at this color, soft plum with golden embroidery. It will make your skin glow like moonlight. You'll be absolutely breathtaking in it. Truly a shame that you're not the crown princess." Min Seo raised a brow at that, her lips curling into a tight, polite smile. "Is that so?" Miss Lim huffed, moving on to her waist. "Of course. No offense, but have you seen Crown Princess Jeolmi lately? She's been acting strange. Refused to let me measure her. Claimed she was too shy about her body. What nonsense. I've worked with nobility my whole life, and I've never seen such a thing." Lady Han, seated nearby with her hands folded neatly on her lap, said nothing at first, simply observing Min Seo's reaction. Min Seo tried to appear indifferent, but Miss Lim's words lodged in her mind. She didn't allow measurements. That was odd. Her thoughts flashed briefly to a recent conversation with her father, Minister Jin Moo, how he had asked her, almost offhandedly, if she had noticed anything unusual about Ji-yeon. Before her thoughts could deepen, Lady Han leaned forward ever so slightly. "Is something wrong, my lady?" she asked gently. Min Seo blinked, then gave a light laugh. "Oh, nothing. I was just remembering something trivial." Lady Han tilted her head, clearly not convinced. "Well, Miss Lim does make a point. You would have made a far more fitting crown princess than... Min Seo's eyes flickered toward her, lips parting slightly in surprise at the comment. But she quickly masked it, nodding faintly. Later that afternoon, in the quiet elegance of the Queen's chambers, Lady Han sat before the royal matron, her tone cautious and respectful. Your Majesty, the preparations for the wedding are progressing smoothly. The seamstress is working on Crown Princess Jialmi's hanbok, though. The Queen, seated regally with a fan in hand, glanced up sharply. Though what? Lady Han clasped her hands. She refused to be measured. Prince Kyung-hoon intervened and said he would deliver the measurements personally. He claimed she was sensitive about her body. The Queen's brow furrowed deeply, the fan slowing its rhythmic flutter. Refused, she repeated. That's highly unusual. And the prince supported this? Yes, Your Majesty. A long silence stretched between them. The Queen set the fan down. Have you discovered anything yet? She asked, voice lowered and edged with intensity. Lady Han shook her head. Nothing concrete. It's proven difficult. There are very few people who know anything about her past. Her father was very protective. She didn't mingle. No friends, rarely seen outside the household. Everything about her upbringing was carefully guarded. The Queen's eyes narrowed. That's exactly what makes it suspicious. A girl born from merchant wealth, with no known allies or history. It sounds less like protection and more like concealment. Her father was hiding something. Lady Han's expression tightened but she nodded. The Queen stood, walking slowly toward the window. I want you to continue your investigation. Discreetly. There has to be a crack in the facade. Find it, before the wedding. You have 1 week. Lady Han bowed low. Yes, Your Majesty. The Queen's gaze lingered on the horizon. I will not allow a woman of questionable identity to remain at my son's side. Not under my roof. Not in this palace. Lady Su-ji sat stiffly in the quiet of her sitting room, her hands tightly folded on her lap, eyes fixed on nothing in particular. The early morning sun filtered through the windows, but it brought her no comfort. Her heart was heavy. Again. Jun-ho and Min-suk had already left for the palace, off to their respective duties with the usual spring in their steps, oblivious to the storm brewing in their mother's heart. And her husband? Off with that fool Sungmin again, as always. She scoffed aloud. What a joke. Her whole family was a mess and none of them seemed to care how she was holding it all together. Or rather, how she was crumbling under it all. Ever since Jun-ho had fled his own wedding like a lunatic, everything had fallen apart. She could still hear the bride's family yelling at her, cursing her name, throwing the ceremonial gifts right back at her feet as though they were garbage. All the hours of planning, the deals, the favors she had pulled, ruined. And for what? Because of Ji-yun. Her nostrils flared at the name. That boy had taken hold of her son's heart, twisted it, and now not only had he ruined Jun-ho's future, he was shamelessly married to the crown prince, as if the heavens were rewarding him for his disgrace. No punishment, no shame. Just walking around the palace like he belonged there. She couldn't take it. She wouldn't take it. Aching for fresh air and a clearer mind, Lady Su-ji wrapped her shawl around her shoulders and stepped out into the bustling street, the noise of the streets doing little to calm her temper. But then, something caught her eye. A woman, tall and graceful, dressed in elegant silks far too refined for the common stalls, was stopping by people, asking hushed questions. Her words were quiet, but one name rang out clearly to Su-ji's ears. Jialmi. That happened to be Ji-yun's fake name. Her pace slowed, curiosity overtaking her anger. The woman turned slightly, and Lady Su-ji's brows furrowed. Without thinking, she made her way over. Pardon me, she said with a polite but sharp edge to her tone, but I couldn't help overhearing. Are you inquiring about Jialmi? Lady Han turned, her expression unreadable. Yes, I am. But it's confidential. May I ask why you're interested? Suji's eyes narrowed ever so slightly, and then, she smiled. Confidential or not, you're lucky you ran into me. I raised Jiomi myself after she lost her mother. That girl lived under my roof. Ate at my table. Slept under my roof for years. I know everything there is to know about. She cleared her throat, Lady Han's brows arched ever so slightly. Is that so? Oh, you have no idea, Suji said, her voice turning eager, almost gleeful. If you knew the truth about who Jiomi really is, well, let's just say you'd be more than surprised. Now she had Lady Han's full attention. Would you care to elaborate? Suji tilted her head slightly, gesturing toward her home just up the road. Why don't we speak in private? My house is just there. You're most welcome. Lady Han hesitated for only a moment before nodding. Lead the way. And with that, the two women disappeared into the household, the door closing softly behind them, leaving only the quiet thrum of the streets, unaware that a storm had just begun to stir. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe to the channel for more episodes.